Hey everybody, welcome back to Middle of the Res Road. Today we are in the studio with Joel, Lisa, Charlie, Ricky, and myself. Today we're just gonna do a little chit chat and see what's going on in everybody's life and get to know a couple people. Hello, everybody.
Might have a couple TV stars here pretty soon. What are you guys doing this weekend?
This weekend, me and Charlie, Charlie actually came up with the idea. He saw something on Facebook, I think it was, and it said something about auditions for reservation dogs. And he said, as soon as he saw that post, he called me and he's like, I see us going. So, and, like I put a lot of thought and time and,
No, you didn't.
into it. Well, no, I didn't.
No. I called him up and I said, hey, what do you think about going to Oklahoma? He's like, I just seen the same thing. Yeah, let's do it. So it was literally like maybe 5 seconds of thought.
And then I've been thinking about it since. So, in it all, like everything just happened just as it should. And I talked to Babe about it, and she signed my permission slip. So,
So are you guys what are you guys auditioning for? Is it specific roles or
You want a lead role? You want to be in the background?
whole star?
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about before when I seen it, I was like, man, I don't know. I've done that thing before and done the auditioning thing before, and then I thought, I'm like, man, if I went down there, it's like a 11-hour trip. I looked it up on Google, and then I was like, man, who would go with me? And I'm like, first one that popped in my head, Joel. And I'm like, called him up. I'm like, hey man, do you just want to see what happens? Because all I thought about was the shot that if you don't try something, you have zero chance. And it's already a slim chance. I already know that. I know that the line's going to be crazy. I know a lot of people are going to be showing up all over the country to do it, to check it out. And all I know is that, there's no chance if I don't do it. So I'd rather have the chance. Rather tell people, like, we drove all the way down to Oklahoma to try it.
Yeah, and then you don't have those what if thoughts in the aftermath of it.
Rather try it and be told no than to not even try at all.
But then the crazy thing is, life is crazy, and stranger things have happened.
True.
So you just never know. I'm pretty excited. My brother Spider. He's from Oklahoma. He's Choctaw. He's trying to get me down to Oklahoma all the time. I'm supposed to take a trip with him sometime this spring, and to check out Oklahoma for the first time on my own terms. And but it would be on my own terms going with him. But I just check out Oklahoma, and when I'm driving down there with my brother, I'm like, I remember this sign. And he's like, how do you know that? How do you know? But maybe his wife's gonna be looking at my Facebook, and she does. And the Choctaw, I've met a lot of Choctaw people, and they're just the coolest people I've ever met. Some of the coolest people I've ever met. Some of the strongest Anishinaabe people out there are the Choctaw Indians down in Oklahoma, and they're right on the border of Oklahoma and Mississippi. So the border splits the tribe up. The spiritual people, I guess, live on the Mississippi side, and the Choctaw, the other people, they still speak their language. They still know some of the ways, but to get a Choctaw name, those people have to cross. The people in Oklahoma have to cross Mississippi, and they're usually enrolled in both tribes down there, Mississippi and Oklahoma. And so I've asked him. He's asked me about Ojibwe names and Ojibwe ceremonies, and because the people in Oklahoma where he grew up, they don't practice their ways. And so for him to get a Choctaw name, he has to go into Mississippi, and they don't allow outsiders into the community unless if they're gonna be participating and living there. So you really have to be involved within the Mississippi Choctaw, I guess, to get a name, anything else, participate in their ceremonies. You have to be really involved in their community, from what I understand. And maybe that's just him hearing, hearsay, but you won't know until you check it out.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. It's really interesting learning about other tribes too.
Yeah.
Because they have lacrosse down there too, just like us Ojibwe, but they play rough. Like, people are fighting, people are getting checked. He's showing me Choctaw stuff all the time, and so we're saying we have this up here too. We have lacrosse. We have ceremonies, just whatever they do. Then they have a lot of different ceremonies down in Oklahoma, which I'm if we get to check out anything else down there, it'd be awesome.
So you said that you had some acting
No,
background?
I do not have any acting. Oh, maybe
Previous auditions, anything like that?
I've auditioned before for
Okay.
a lot of people have auditioned for that Older Than America up here.
Yeah, I remember when that movie came here.
But, I started thinking about it. I was talking to my friend Heather yesterday before we went to the meeting, and it's kind of like, Joel's done acting, Lisa's done acting. When we're active users, when we're not on the wagon, we're pretending to be somebody else. We're not our authentic selves. We learn how to be somebody else with different groups of people. So I'm thinking of it. I'm using all the stuff that I've learned in the meetings, in my own recovery,
Yeah.
and I already know how to be somebody else. Or I've done it for a while.
That's crazy. I guess I've never thought of it that way either.
That's exactly what I was thinking of the other day. Like I'm pretty good at acting, pretty much anything. I'm good at acting. Boozy if I have to. I'm good at acting.
Let's see it. You're acting all boozy.
Okay. There you go. And yeah, I look at that as I always had a mask on. I always had to put a front on for somebody to get what I needed out of life, and it feels good to be able to go into something and get to be my authentic self, and get to be who I am and who I represent, and I represent, the natives up here. That's where my lingo comes from. That's where my language comes from. That's where my personality comes from. And, and that's a big thing, like Charlie was just saying, you got to shoot your shot, you got to shoot your shot to see if it's going to get you anywhere, and I know it's a big trip, and maybe it's time consuming, and but it's like I'm ready, I'm ready, and whether something happens or not, it's about having fun.
True.
And it's about seeing somewhere new and meeting new people, and and I think me and Charlie are pretty good at that. We're pretty good at getting out there and meeting new people and seeing new things and understanding everyone just the way they are, and that's the beauty of recovery, is just having a different eye for the way you see things and making possibilities possible, and that's what I look at it like. So yeah, this is just another tool that I get to add to my toolbox, is going out of my way to get something I want, because I do want it, and I've never dreamed that I'd even have an opportunity, and here it is right in front of me, and it came fast, Charlie just made his move and shot his shot, and and it's like, I'm rolling with you, so that's the way it works, and that's awesome to have people who believe in me, you know, and believe in us, believe in our recovery, and want to see good things happen for us, you know, and that's the beautiful thing about friends and friendships and relationships.
And if I can add and get somebody else in the conversation here, I do learn this from person sitting right next to me, because she'll show up on a dime. Just 1 second, Joel's like, I'm going to be at this meeting. And I'm like, all right, is Lisa going to be here? Just ask him flat out, like, is Lisa coming? Or he'll let me know. Lisa wants to come to the meeting tonight, so she'll be here. Like, I learn how to be more spontaneous, how to live in the moment from Lisa, because she's here some days, and then when I'm least expecting it, we could be like when Joel tried to hanging in with me working out, and
Tried.
yeah, for a week,
Yeah.
well, and then our schedules just haven't matched up, but just hearing him talk about him and Lisa doing things together, and you know, it's all the spur of the moment stuff. So I'm like, man, I'm just gonna do this, and I've learned it from Lisa, just being here back and forth, rolling in, and it's pretty amazing. She lives in the moment.
It's the only way to live. You have to live life as if tomorrow won't be, and no regrets. So I'm pretty proud of these guys. They're going down there. They invited me, but I can't get off of work, so I'm supporting them financially. No, just kidding.
She's signing the stipend.
I don't know if I could ever do that. Just be spontaneous. I don't know. For me, I always have to have a plan. There has to be like steps on what we're doing for the day. You're kind of like that though too.
I am, but there is a part of me who wants to be spontaneous and just go with the flow. That's how my sister is. My sister and her friend this past summer, they just got in their car and they just went. No plan, no nothing. I'm like, but what about hotels? What about this? What about this? She's like, whatever.
We'll make it up as we go.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. Like I could not.
I love that. That's, you know, especially if you have the time.
Yeah.
And you know, like you have the financial capabilities, you have, you know, the whereabouts at least, you know, where you want to go, and you know, and you have friends that have your back. You know, I think that's, you know, like that helps that, you know, like that motive, I guess, you know, just to be spontaneous and just jump and do it. You know,
Yeah.
and that's what me and Lisa have always done, you know, like since I've met her, you know, like, let's go to Valley Fair, you know, like, and you know, I met, you know, when I first met Lisa, I was really, really young, I don't know, 14 or 15. And
27 years ago.
yeah, 27 years ago. And, you know, like, and that's, you know, I never thought I'd see myself sitting right here next to her today, you know, I mean, it was never like that, you know, and everything just happened the way it did, and, you know, we got to connect on a whole different level and enjoy doing things, fun things together, you know, things that I never imagined I'd do. And so, yeah, she has taught me to be a lot more spontaneous, a lot more active, I should say proactive, you know, like just jump and do it. You know, you have the means of doing it, you have a way of doing it, get it done, you know, and I don't know, now we just eat out a lot, and I
And
catch
work out a lot.
Yeah, and I catch a lot of backlash for that, you know. What do you say?
I'm well loved. But because recovery is because of this possible, like the old me, like I was very planned. Everything had to be within reason, and everything had to be ordered and hotel and paid for. Now I don't live like that. I live very spontaneous and in the moment. And with losing people to addiction, I think that's made me really live in the moment and no regrets. Live every day as it's your last.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit for for the people who are watching.
Sure. Buju Nishwashwege Gagbo Kwe Mashkazibi and Dunjaba. My name's Lisa Whitebird. I'm from Bad River. 4 years in recovery. I work for my tribe. We got a new program called Bad River Harm Reduction. And then I serve at a fine dining restaurant. Speaking of acting, you really have to act when you're a server.
Got to get those tips.
Yeah. And I have, I got 3 kids. I'm a single mom. Both my parents are gone. My dad was the late Chief Chuck Whitebird from Bad River.
Oh,
Yeah, I dance and go to ceremonies and just trying to find myself back on this red road. 4 years in recovery.
Yeah, I seen you over at the Fond du Lac powwow. Was it like a month ago or something? Trying to teach Joel how to jingle dress dance.
My son was trying to teach Joel how to jingle dress, and Joel was trying to teach my son how to sing. So it's balanced.
Speaking of powwows, did you guys see the powwow coming up in April?
April 8th.
At UMD.
Yep.
I miss the old powwows, you know, like that they used to have in Duluth, and it's nice to see them coming back after COVID took a break, I guess, you know, like, and that's another thing, you know, like the get-togethers are actually, we're getting together now, you know, and we're able to get together, and we're able to get together as groups again. So it's like, you know, I really see like the powwows thriving, especially the round dances, and you know, like all these different postings of all these different gatherings all across Indian country, you know, and that's it's coming back, you know, and behind that I think is like a lot of teachings.
for sure. Do you remember the Vets powwow where it was? At the tribal center? Do you remember that?
I don't.
How old are you?
Old enough.
Old enough.
You're like 32.
32. Yeah.
Yeah, you might have been there. So the Vets powwow where that first started, I do yeah, the Vets powwow had to have been there. You know, the tribal center, the Fond du Lac Tribal Center, that row of pine trees used to always be there. That's right in front of the museum there.
Mm-hmm.
It used to run straight down that Big Lake Road. And then there was a drive-in right there. That was all field. And we used to do, I think we did the first 3-4 Vets powwows there. I don't know how many they did, but I do remember going as a kid, going to that Vets powwow, and it was back where the arbor and stuff is right where the tribal center is. So you'd walk straight back to that field. Everybody parked by the Head Start where the Head Start parking is.
Mm-hmm.
That used to just be parking for that powwow. And then you just walk straight back, and then they'd have all the stands and stuff around. Yeah, they only did it there for like 2-3 years before they moved it to MASH.
Are they moving it again? I heard rumors that they're going to be moving it again. I don't know if it's true or not, but I didn't know if you knew.
Do you know? You don't know. I don't know.
Mm.
Some days I want the powwow grounds at the cultural center, the Fond du Lac Cultural Center.
Yeah.
And some days I do see the point. Like I do see what everybody, you know, what some people say that, you know, we're gonna make it spend $2-3 million on some powwow grounds that we're gonna use 2 times a year. And then I have to challenge people like, what else can we use the powwow grounds for? And so I try to create that conversation. It doesn't just have to be powwow grounds. What else can we use it for? So if that's what the reservation, that's what people really want to do, that, you know, as long as it's under the reservation, I just have to challenge people. Well, what can we use it for? It doesn't have to be just powwow grounds.
Yeah.
It could be where people ride horses. It could be where people learn how to shoot bows. It could be a stickball field.
Oh, that'd
half
be a
the
good
season.
idea.
You know, during the summer, during the winter, you know, we play stickball in the winter too. So I just think there's multiple uses, and people just have to really have a good idea of what we could actually use powwow grounds for. more so than saying it's a bad idea. I think what else can we use it for
Yeah.
at this point?
What about like sweat lodges stuff? Doing that over.
Yeah, so they have a sweat lodge behind the cultural center, and if you go on the Fond du Lac community page, that's the community health side through the clinic, and then they'll post the schedule for the sweats on our website fdlres.com, and if you look at the announcements, you'll see the schedules for the month. But yeah, they're doing a lot of good stuff over there. I mean, a lot of people are reaching out for help, and they don't really turn away anybody. I never, people don't get turned away for ceremony. Unless if it's pushing some really hard boundaries. I suppose you could get removed from a ceremony. But most of the time people are looking for help, so
Yeah.
nobody's really getting kicked out of any ceremonies that I ever heard of.
Do you ever run sweats?
No, I don't run any sweats, and you know what? I try not to. In my own recovery, when I learned how to do the funerals, I got burnt out from them. That old man, Mick, for a long time, for a couple of years, and wherever he was going, I would be there.
Yeah.
Especially on Fond du Lac. And he always wanted me to go down to Mille Lacs, and so I started going down to Mille Lacs after he passed away. I started hanging out with Obizon and checking out what they do in Mille Lacs and Lake Lena. And I haven't been to East Lake yet. East Lake's a little bit different. I've seen funerals in East Lake, but I'm not sure how they do their ceremony. But so I've been pretty careful about not to extending myself too much, because once you accept, I don't know, once I sobered up, I wanted to learn everything, and I felt like I could do everything, and it's probably because I was 19, and between 19 and 25 I could do whatever, and didn't have any kids. I went to ceremonies, went to sweats. I even at one time would go into the sweat and do the fire keeping at the same time. And I tried that a couple of years ago, and I was like, man, I'm not 20 anymore. This is hard work. Now it's hard work. And so I try not to extend myself too much. It's a personal thing. It's trying to keep myself sane. And then, at the same time, not be afraid to learn and not be afraid to say no. So what I've done now or recently is, it's hard. It's really hard to. If somebody asks me for help, somebody asks me to do service somewhere. I've traveled to White Earth. Just got asked to go to Red Lake, and I said no. And went up to Net Lake before, done 2 funerals up there, and sometimes I just have to say no. I got 4 kids now, and I have a job
That you know of?
Yeah, that I know of.
Yeah, there you go.
The good joke that I know of. Yeah, but you never know. Maybe one kid comes out of the woodwork somewhere. Maybe in Oklahoma.
Oh,
Hey, there he
10
is.
months.
There he is.
No, but seriously, I try not to extend myself too much and learn how to say no. And some people might ask, like, hey, you want to learn how to run a sweat? No, not right now. I want to do that right now. And then even anything with ceremonies, anything to do ceremonially, I really do consider, can I take this on?
on top of everything else.
Yeah, on
that-
top of everything else, or what has to give for me to learn something else to do it. So there's a really give and take. And then, for whatever reason, I've been on, been able to tell people no. And it's something new that I've learned in my life, is how to tell people no and stand by stand by that mental health and emotional health, spiritual health, physical health. Sometimes takes precedence over, you know,
Other
trying
people's
to-
needs or
and then I just know being a part of the ceremonial community, I can give somebody else's number. Here, ask them. If it's over in Leech Lake, I mean, I've said no to people in Leech Lake too. And then I don't like stepping on people's toes too, because if somebody asks me to go up to Red Lake, I'm like, man, why didn't you ask so and so? They're always doing it up there. But I understand, like, even doing funerals and being one of the people in Fond du Lac to do them. You know, yesterday I got to go to my cousin's funeral, and I got to show up late at 11 o'clock, still offer my tobacco and sit down and participate and not have any expectations of making sure everything was taken care of. So, you know, that's nice too. I appreciate that.
Not having to run it.
Yeah. And not having to like wait for people to get done eating, not have to wait for people to get done offering their tobacco or finish smoking or whatever, you know, and then not worrying, because it's stressful no matter what ceremony you do. I think it's stressful. There's a little bit of stress with every ceremony. It could be a sweat, it could be a naming ceremony. I think it's just, you know, ceremonies, majority of it's in the good intentions. What I liked, there's a good, maybe you guys can get him on here. This guy from White Earth, well-known Ojibwe person from White Earth. And, you know, he explained to me what Tommy still the deceased said. Like, it's ceremonies are 96% good intention, 3% being able to talk Ojibwe, and 1% being able to listen. And it kind of changed my thought about what ceremonies really are when he said that. So it's majority of it's good intention, but then there's a stress of making sure, you know, the elders stressed to me a long time ago that, and they still stress to me, that you have to know the language when you're doing the ceremony, because you don't want to mess anything up. And when I first learned how to do the funeral, a Mick had shared with me, he said, if you ever get somebody lost on the trail, at the end of your life, you have to grab them along the way.
Oh,
and
really?
Bring them with you. You'll find them on
Wow.
the trail waiting, because they won't know what to do. And so I asked Obazan about that. And Obazan kind of started chuckling, and he said, I think he was just messing with you. So for a long time, for like 5 years, for 5-6 years, I've thought about that, and I always worried
That's why you're
about
so stressed.
that. For 5-6 years, I thought about that.
Jeez.
And that's what, man, maybe that's what Mick really believes, because that's what he told me. That's how serious to take it.
Yeah.
So I always try to do it better than I did before. And I still get nervous doing ceremonies. If it could be it could be just opening up the tribal council meeting. It could be opening up the state of the band or any event down at Black Bear. It could be talking for a smudge walk. There's a little bit of nervousness to not, you know, I get in my head with Ojibwe, and then, because I'm a second language speaker now, and I'm proud to say that. But then am I going to say too much? Do I ask for too much for people? Do I put too much on people? And then do I not say enough? So I'm trying to find the balance of how much do you ask for and how much you don't ask for. Right now, in my life, my journey right now, where I'm at with ceremonies, asking for things, using my tobacco, talking for somebody else's tobacco, I consciously think about how much am I asking for people in their lives. So I get stressed out. There's a little bit of stress to it. But then when I get done, I feel pretty good. No matter what, you know, it's all good intention.
I was always told that even if you didn't know how to speak Ojibwe, and like you wanted to do a ceremony or something, that, or like even if you're just praying, that you can speak English. And the spirits know what you mean. But I mean, that goes to the differences of like teachings from different elders too. It's kind
And
of,
it's if they were being nice to you.
yeah.
If you didn't know Ojibwe, because I know Ojibwe, and so, even hearing the teachings in the language, when we start talking Ojibwe to each other, we might be in a group of people and we might just, if an elder wants to say something about somebody, or if his elder wants to say, hey, this is what they really mean, or this is what you should consider, or just to have a conversation in Ojibwe, a kind of secret conversation. So we drop right into Ojibwe. I do with my friends all the time. We could be rolling somewhere, and if we're the only ones that know Ojibwe, start talking in Ojibwe. And if we're talking about, if we don't want people to know what we're doing at work, or they'll probably hear this now, or if we, if we're whatever we're doing, if we're being obnoxious or mischievous, or even just to make sure that, just to speak Ojibwe just because we know how to speak Ojibwe. We know a little bit of the language to be able to converse in the language. We'll do that, and speaking Ojibwe, it's just for the sake of speaking Ojibwe sometimes. But with the elders, what you said about the English, with the elders, what they said about English, they never told me that. They said, you know what, you need to know Ojibwe. Even Mick, he was pretty strict. He said, you have to know Ojibwe to do the funeral. There's no way around it. For you to go in the sweat lodge, you should know. When I first started learning Ojibwe, especially when I moved to Minneapolis, I knew I was going to Mille Lacs eventually. They had like 80 speakers at the time, 80, 95 speakers at the time. So I knew I was going to Mille Lacs. And my professor and one of my good friends, Brendan Kishkitun, he just changed his name. Brendan would tell me that, the first ride up to Mille Lacs, I can still remember we're going to Mille Lacs and we're going to be working with Elfrida Sam at the time, Marge Anderson, and Dorothy Sam. And there might have been one or two more elders up there. Dorothy Sam is no longer here. Marge Anderson is no longer here. Elfrida Sam Okadak is still kicking it down there in Mille Lacs, feistier than ever. But it was my first time that I got to work with speakers and ask them questions. But I know on the ride up, he said, you know what? The elders are still pretty strict up here. And I'm like looking at him, and maybe I'm going to misquote the story, and he's going to, if he happens to listen to this, he'll call me up and say, I never said that. But no, I do remember him telling me specifically, if you go in they'll tell you, if you go in a sweat, no one should go in a sweat if they don't know Ojibwe. That's kind of how hardcore it was at the time. I was 19 years old. And this was, 19, 20, 21, somewhere in there. That was 14 years ago now, 15 years ago. And then I got the tail end of it. It was a time where the elders were accepting that people, kind of accepting that people, maybe our language isn't, no one wants to really learn our language. So out of survival, that's how you heard that, do the, if you don't know Ojibwe, use them as much as you can.
Yeah.
But when I was getting into it, the elders had the strict teachings. You have to know Ojibwe. Even Mick, when he took me under his apprenticeship, maybe 8 years ago, he was pretty strict. He said, you have to know Ojibwe. You have to know exactly what you're saying during the ceremony. And then he told me, if you get somebody lost, you're going to have to find them. And I'm like, dang, that's a lot of
That'd
stress.
make me not want to do funerals.
Yeah, it's pressure, a lot of pressure under that, like that, just telling you that. But I suppose that encouraged you to do, like to learn more too, and
To
have a
concentrate
better
more, maybe.
understanding of the language. Maybe that was his way of motivating you too, to like learn more, or like understand better.
So when I started learning ceremonies, when I started learning the way the elders speak, especially during ceremony, It's kind of about, there's the ritual, and then there's the speeches, and the speeches kind of roll generally the same. And once you figure out, this is what they're going to talk about, and then this is what they're going to talk about, it changed my entire perspective of ceremonies. Because when I sobered up, I didn't feel like I was Indian. I didn't know who I was. I was born brown, and I was born enrolled in a reservation, and I didn't know what that meant. I didn't have any concept. And ceremony, I always thought ceremony was more than powwows, but then I was too afraid to do any of that stuff. So when I started rolling in ceremonies, I kind of just didn't really even understand it. I started talking Ojibwe, and even though learning different prayers, I kind of still knew like everything that was written down at the time. Serenity prayer, or a morning prayer, or whatever you would see on Facebook in the early days before it became Facebook today. I kind of just, that can't be ceremony either. That's not really ceremony. But then I learned that, some people have their own ceremonies and people do it their own way. But then you go into our ceremonies, like down in Mille Lacs, there's protocol to all of that stuff, and there's a way to do it, and people are really proud of that. They maintain that way of life, and I'm proud to say that those elders down in Mille Lacs, they kind of like welcomed me into their communities and taught me how to do ceremonies, and there's the way we do our ceremonies down in Mille Lacs. There's a protocol, there's a way to do them, and we don't really change much. And they don't really change much. Sometimes I'll say we, being a part of the community down there, but then it's they, because at the same time I'm just a visitor that got to hang out with the elders and got to listen and got scolded by them, and not be afraid of getting scolded by them. I think the one thing that I took away from learning ceremony and learning how to, and that's kind of like acting, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't even learning how to do the funeral, going to our ceremonies in Mille Lacs, going to drum ceremony. I'll remember I didn't know crap when I was 19, but now I'm here, and I get to listen. I understand what's going on, and so that's where when I roll with new people, or when I try to teach people, I always remember that, I might have knew 2 or 3 words when I sobered up, and that's the possibility of, adapting that way of life. And it was through this, seriously. Dan Jones had taught me how to do this one prayer, and all I asked for every single morning for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months at a time, almost every single morning, I would go put my tobacco out, because I didn't know what else to pray for. The only thing I knew was like what was written down, and so I was always asking the spirits to help me speak Ojibwe. And it's really just the tobacco. I never forget that. I never forget why I'm able to speak Ojibwe and why things happen the way they happen. It's full belief that something bigger than myself put a bunch of language in my life, and myself. I wanted that for myself. I couldn't just forever say, "Hey, help me speak Ojibwe." That would be boring. There's like, how do I say help Joel out with his recovery? How do I say help Lisa out with raising her kids? How do I say help you guys, maintain being happy? Like, there's so many different things, as learning gratitude and learning how to be grateful. I just learned how to you want to learn how to say more and more things. I should learn how to say like help me have more babies or something.
Oh my God.
That's
Halloween.
I was just thinking about Ricky and Alyssa, that question you just asked them. How to help them.
You know, I have 4 kids,
Yep.
and
A pro.
the first person I talked to when I was newly single again, 4 months ago, 5 months ago now. The elderly woman, I work with her every single day, and then my good friend Lee. They both said, you know, I'm like, I'm thinking of getting fixed. I don't know if I can have any more kids, and the elders will say, you know, you shouldn't do that. It's however many kids that you're blessed with. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I still think about it. I know people go against that teaching all the time, but it's a for real teaching. People, the elders really believe that. You know, it's however many kids you end up with, and that you shouldn't get fixed. And I'm like, man, I don't know. But for real, it's a hard.
I'm still trying.
hope.
You know, even though I know it ain't possible, but I'm still trying.
I think one's
Do you
good
want to
enough for me.
comment on that?
I'm gonna plead the
Oh, you
fifth.
got one?
I have one, yeah.
Do you have any?
Just with him? Well, not
Oh, just
Kid-
him.
It's my child. Miles, I now consider to be my son, which I met him when he was 5, and he just turned 13.
I was 14 when he was born.
You were 14?
Yeah.
Dang.
I turned-
See, you Mille Lacs people, man.
I'm not from Mille Lacs, though.
Yeah.
Or you
I just grew up there.
Sisseton, right?
Sisseton, yeah.
Yeah, that's how you Sisseton.
Yeah,
I hear you.
I turned 15 2 weeks after he was born. But
First time didn't turn out too good for you, did it?
No, he's like, that wasn't the first time.
yeah, it was.
Really?
No, it was like
I
my
just-
my first girlfriend. I ended up knocking her up, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like
Planting the seed, we call it. Not knocking her up, planting the seed.
it's been a good thing just because it's like kept my head down and more focused on me and made me grow up faster, I guess. So I like wasn't running around with all the res kids and getting into trouble and just stuck at home because I had a kid.
Yeah,
More responsibilities.
there you
Yeah.
go.
What's it like down there then? Is that like a normal thing or is that not a normal thing? Or once in a while?
In Mille Lacs?
No, Sisseton.
I don't know. I never grew up there.
Or you
be
didn't grow up in Sisseton?
No, when I had my kid, I was living in Anoka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Sneaking around in Anoka.
sneaking around was
Yeah, I can feel it.
You started young too, right?
I had my first one at 19.
That's young.
That is young. Yes, it is. He's 25 this year.
God damn, how old are you?
19. No, I'm going to be 44 this year.
Holy.
Yeah. Pretty good looking 44-year-old, huh? I
Almost
see
an
you looking
elder.
at me.
I started at 28. I'm just glad I waited.
Yeah.
But then, I sobered up at 19, so I was still growing up, still responsibilities, still understanding, gotta do whatever I'm gonna do to live a good life.
Yeah.
And that was college. And so when college took precedent, it was like having a kid, being responsible, flunking once in a while.
So you didn't have a girlfriend until you were 28?
Correct. No. No, I'm just, whatever
Whatever happens.
happened.
That's awesome.
That explains it all.
Yeah.
See, I'm kind of happy I started young because I'll be 32 when he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
He'll be off doing his own thing. I'll still be young. No offense, Joel.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
None taken.
Yeah, but you're gonna be a
you're
young
gonna be a grandpa at like
If he follows in my footsteps, I will be-
28.
Yeah. Nope. I did the math on that one. Oh, that's next year.
I'll just say, don't ever call me grandpa, call me uncle.
Yep.
That's scary to think about, though. Like having Miles have a child next year. That blows my mind. That
Yeah,
It's crazy.
just like following the footsteps
Don't
of
say
his
it. Don't
poppy.
say it.
he's trying to teach him to
That's-
not follow in his
that's-
footsteps, and
Yeah.
That's good. Those are
Break in general, I can't even say it.
Generational.
generational trauma.
yeah, that's what it is too. Communication, I think, is like how our kids are gonna understand to live
Yeah.
a better life.
That's-
Like that's a huge thing. Like
That's what I always encourage too. Is like even if you think you're going to be in trouble for it, just come talk to me.
Yep, and that's what I explained to my daughter. Anything, just tell me. Tell me whatever, and that's a good practice to have. Because I don't think I had like that when I was growing
Yeah.
up. I think I was scared to tell the
Yeah,
truth.
it's like, I was
I
gonna get in
was
trouble.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's gonna.
For the emotions, to talk about the emotions, and sometimes for me, this is just for me, and I can openly express my emotions. I can even let people mess with my emotions, like or my perspective. Maybe not the feelings. Feelings can change. I can understand that. Feelings can change for me. My perspective, wide open. If somebody wants to convince me to vote a certain way, tell me all about it. I'll listen. Maybe I won't listen all the way. I won't listen. Maybe my mind's already made up. But if you give me a good argument, I'll listen to it. I'll let people mess with the way I feel about a subject, my perspective. And I feel like that's where people can help me grow. But when I make a decision, I stick by that decision. I don't, and not everybody's like that. I go to therapy. I ask my therapist this. I'm like, man, some people need help making decisions, and I don't like that, because for me, if I make a decision, I'm not blaming anybody for it backfiring. If something's going to backfire, it's going to be on me. If I made a decision and it was a poor decision and it didn't work out, then that's on me. And then I asked my therapist about it. I'm like, that's how it usually goes for everybody. She's like, no, a lot of people out there need help making decisions. That's where you can influence people's minds, is helping them make a decision. I'm like, man, that's so backwards. I just don't get it. And it's hard. It's hard thinking about it, because I've never thought about life like that. I never handled life like that. So, change my feelings, and then learning, like people have told me, especially this year, learning how to openly communicate my feelings, how I feel about a subject. Hey, those are my feelings. Don't try changing them. This is how I feel about the subject. I'm like, well, you feel like I wronged you, and you feel like this is right and it's not, or whatever. Whatever. Maybe my perspective is different than theirs, but trying to understand that a lot of people don't like their feelings messed around with. Like, it's their feelings, can't change them. I get that too. I'm starting to understand that. It's still kind of backwards for me. I operate completely backwards from that mindset.
You remain very calm, and like you've really taught me that, like, just to remain calm no matter what. And even like Lisa said, she sees that, like she's like, you're always just so calm about everything. She was like even like in situations where she probably would get kind of frustrated or mad, she was just like, and you're always just calm about it. And and that's something I I learned that, like, not to just fire off and like put it into a negative situation. It's just like, just let it be just the way it is. That's the way it's supposed to be. you know, and when I can live my life like that on a daily, you know, and even sometimes by the moment or by the conversation or just by the feelings, you know, like when I can do that regularly, just, you know, like life seems to be a lot smoother when I don't give people a reaction, because that's the worst thing to do is, you know, like let somebody that's trying to play with your emotions or trying to play with your feelings, give them the reaction that they're trying to get. You know, I mean, you could really be feeding their, you know, feeding their fire, you know, and you know, like in recovery taught me that, you know, like kind of recovery, just not everything needs a reaction. And, you know, Charlie, like the way he is, he's always, you know, pretty calm and cool and collective, and, you know, so it's like, and Lisa too, you know, like she just lets a lot of things just be. So it's like, you know, these being around these two has been a big change in how I see and do things, in my perspective, even, you know, on life and how it should be.
And I think people's timing in your life, like having Charlie come into my life. Charlie's my family, and you know, I don't think he would be in my life so much right now if Joel wasn't in recovery. And it's very eye-opening to hear him talk and communicate and learning from each other and growing and trying to be calm in situations. Yeah, I don't know.
She's learning. She's learning.
What about you guys?
What about me?
Feelings? Can somebody change your feelings?
She looks at him. She gives him a look.
I'm one of those people who it's hard for me to make a decision. I need a lot of information about it, and that goes back to being spontaneous, I guess, too. Like I have to see if it, like, down the line, is it going to work for me? Is that if I say this, or if my decision sways that way, is that going to be good for me? But then there's other times where I'm like, that's what it is. That's my decision. I'm sticking to it. But I think it's good to, like you said, educate yourself on people's points of view too. And if it sways my decision, then I don't know.
Somebody said it best for like my personality. It's like a be like water. Just kind of go with the flow for everything. And
Oh, Bruce Leroy.
That was Bruce Lee.
was it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Bruce Leroy.
Somebody told it to me, like, you have a be like water mentality. I was like, kind of, yeah. I go with the flow with a lot of things, and with people I don't know really well, I don't really give them a reaction out of, like, if they're mad at me or if they're trying to say something to make me mad. I usually, very rarely do I ever like give in to those kind of people. Kind of like what you were saying, Joel, you know, just some things don't need a reaction. Me growing up, so I lost my mom at 15. I was forced to live with my grandparents, and my grandpa is an old Vietnam vet who, you know, had a mentality of like raising us with the military kind of structure. So that didn't really give me a lot of chances to process emotions. So it always came out in anger. And so I think learning a lot of lessons and going that way has helped me kind of rein in my anger and my emotions and stuff like that. So I
Being
kind
a
of,
young dad.
yeah, I will admit I did mess up a lot. Used to yell at him, used to be like the drill sergeant that I kind of grew up with, but I kind of realized that that's not how you get your kids to see you when they're older, you know. But I learned a lot from my uncle. He's raised 3 of his own, 4 that aren't his, and I always call him, and anytime I need parenting advice or if I don't know what to do, and you know, he kind of tells me, like, the biggest lesson I learned from him is you can't force them to be who you want them to be. Like, they're their own little person. They're going to grow up however they want, and their personality is not going to be what you want it to be sometimes, and just got to guide them.
Be like water.
Yep, you like water.
That's a really good lesson right there. Like, just be like water. Just adapt to how it is, and that's I believe that too. You know, I mean, like there's a reason that we're all here right now. You know, because there's a lot of people before us that adapted. Like to the life as it was.
Yep.
Just in like that downflow. That blessed us with our lives today, and like a lot of, like they had to adapt, to get us here, today. So that's, I'm very honored when I think like that, like, and I'm grateful that, that we do get a chance, and we get to try to make a difference and do things different today, like for our children, Like,
Yep.
Well, I'm excited to hear your guys' how your trip goes and
blog it so we can
Yeah,
see it on Facebook
that's-
too.
that's what I wanna
on our
do,
Facebook page.
just on the road, just blog a little bit. And
yeah, go
kinda
live
just-
if you need to.
Yep, BS, and I'll try to do it live off the middle of the Res Road page, and
Yeah, so make sure you check it out on Facebook.
maybe we'll
Joel
stop
and
by
Charlie's
the
blogging.
biggest roll of rubber bands.
Oh,
Is that going through Oklahoma?
that might be.
Yeah, I think
I don't
that is. Yeah, maybe we'll stop by there and see if you can climb up there.
Or maybe, take a round trip all the way back. Hit a whole bunch of different spots.
Trying to hit a couple.
We're
different
taking my
reses, or-
car.
No, not Regis.
We're taking my car, so
Grand
we'll go all the way
Canyon.
around.
Grand Canyon.
He's
Start
already
hitting
got
up the
it in his
mountains.
mind. No change in his mind. He made a decision.
Go down towards the border.
Oh,
They'll keep me.
I know.
He's got a
I
job
know.
here.
He
They
has to be
would
home on
keep you.
Sunday.
good luck on your guys' trip. Let us know how your auditions go. And
And don't forget about us when you're famous.
oh,
Oh,
Never. We'll still
we'll put
be.
it out in the universe right now.
We'll still be here every Tuesday.
the next Adam Beaches right here. All right, guys.
Thank
well, we will see you next week.
Oh.
Oh.